Hey guys, it's Karalynn. Welcome back to the podcast. I'm excited about today's guest to talk about all things mindset, coaching, and running a business. Today I have HR Huntsman. HR is the founder of Leaders Edge. Sorry, I'm going to start that over. That was crap. Founded Leaders Edge. I've already read this in my mind, so we're going to start over. Hey guys, it's Karalynn, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm very excited about today's guest, HR Huntsman. HR founded Leaders Edge to be able to invest in leaders, especially young leaders. His passion stems from his backstory of overcoming early childhood struggles, then going on to build successful and impactful organizations. HR now shares many of his life and leadership principles he's learned in his 30 plus years of leadership with other leaders. He firmly believes to succeed, you must begin with mindset and then move on to the principles and disciplines which create a long-term success for companies or an individual. Hey, good morning, HR. Welcome to the show.
Karalynn, thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor to be here.
Oh, thank you so much for taking the time.
Yeah, you bet.
All right, before we dive into all the mindset and other great ideas, tell us a little bit about you and how you got to where you are now.
Oh, goodness gracious. I was born and raised in southern New Mexico. My dad died. Well, he had his first stroke when I was 18 months of age. And so he lived in the house from 18 months to when I was 9. I found him dead in the backyard. And during that time, he didn't know who I was. He just wandered around the house, stroke.
Oh.
And so I share that part of the story because it set up some early vacuums in my soul that I would later try to fill, and eventually leads to what I do now. So mom took care of him, and he was like my buddy. Taught me how to ride a bike and swing on a swing, but he didn't know he was my dad. And I didn't know he was my dad. My mom didn't tell me he was my dad until after he passed away.
Oh.
And then she remarried a couple more times, and there was men in and out of my life, and there was always alcohol and dysfunction and anger and yelling, and second stepdad brought abuse in the home. And anyway, I don't need to go into gory details, but it was kind of a pretty dysfunctional, angry childhood. And so I entered the military. Here's why this is important. I entered the military because kids like you don't go to college. That's what I was told. Kids like you become ditch diggers or you go in the military. I was too small to be a ditch digger, so I decided to join the Air Force. And I met the first positive male role model in my life, John Simmons. Chaplain Simmons took me under his wing, and he says, I'll never forget this. Let's take all that pain and anger and insecurity and dysfunction, and let's help you lead a life that's useful. Because I was focused on being successful. I was a pretty good software designer, and I knew I was going to be rich making software. And he said, be useful. So anyway, long story short, I get out of the military. I took his advice, and I started my first company when I was 28. I knew nothing about leadership or building anything. Right? I didn't have any kind of leadership environment except just be quiet, don't ruffle anything, and don't be hurt. So I started my first company when I was 28, and I wanted to make a difference in the world. It sounds sappy, but because of my background, I just wanted to change the world. And so I began this nonprofit organization that eventually grew to quite large. And when I retired a few years ago, we had 200 people working in 5 countries around the world. And we built orphanages and dug wells and vegetable gardens and food and clothing programs and alcohol recovery centers and drug recovery centers and after-school programs for kids and et cetera, et cetera. What I fell in love with, Karalynn, was not the projects. As proud as I am of that, I fell in love with developing leaders. Surprisingly, I didn't expect this going in. It wasn't my mindset. And I thought building leaders is how you change the world. So when I retired from that, I started Leaders Edge because I'm just almost addicted to leadership development and helping people become and blossom. I believe the greatest waste in human history is the waste of human potential.
Oh, I agree.
So now I get to travel around the country helping develop amazing young leaders and build teams and organizations. So anyway, that was my backstory.
That's a lot.
Yeah. It's been a
so I don't even know where to start. So okay. So how do you start developing a leader? Where do you start from?
So I interrogate this stuff in my own mind all the time. I'm constantly I think one of my biggest drivers is curiosity. I'm curious about what I'm capable of. I'm curious about what you're capable of, or any clients are sitting in front of me, what their team is capable of. So I think part of what makes moldable clay is this mindset of curiosity or learning, whatever label you want to put on it, some sort of curiosity about what we can build, what we can do, what I can be. And I interrogate myself all the time. How did I escape that childhood and my other brothers just succumb to drugs and alcohol and they kept the cycle going? And how did I break it? I honestly, I don't know. I just decided to.
Yeah.
I just decided I didn't want any part of that crap. I want to build something healthy and I want to be a part of making the world a little bit better place. So I think it begins with curiosity, growth, learning, and not being okay with whatever is. It's like whatever you have, can it be a little bit better?
Yeah.
I think it starts there.
No, I agree. And like my first question is like, obviously mindset is important. How important is it, and and what should it be, and how do you create it?
It is supremely important. It's supremely important. I mean, I've seen it in my life. I've seen it in the lives of all the clients that coach. People that have a victim mindset or a status quo mindset, they're just going nowhere. They're stuck in their marriage, their business, their leadership, and they become in effect of the world around them, like they're in effect of. And those with a growth mindset begin to just kind of carve their own way, and they create success and they create their own opportunities. And so it absolutely begins with mindset. Now, if you're going to ask me, how do you create that growth mindset? I don't have the secret sauce answer. Like I said, I interrogate it all the time. And I think, again, it's absolutely supremely important being open to change, convincing yourself that you're open to change. Again, getting back to curiosity and learning, not being so prideful that you think I know what I need to know.
Yeah.
No, you probably don't. There's
No.
probably a lot that you need to learn. So there's that. I don't know if that answers your question.
So like, how do you work with your clients on their mindset? Because like you have the victim mentality, and when you have the victim mentality, it's all like everything is happening to me. I don't have
Right.
any control over anything.
Oh, for sure.
And so then, I mean, I think I unintentionally had the victim mindset for years too,
Okay.
until I heard about this idea of a different mindset.
Yeah.
Is hearing about it enough, or do you have to practice it, or?
You definitely have to practice it. Yeah. I mean, so again, I ran drug and alcohol rehab centers, been a counselor for 30 years. And I can tell you, anyone who'd come in my office, whether it's a broken marriage or they're addicted to cocaine or porn or whatever it is, or a leader who's sitting in front of me saying, can't grow my company. If you think that you are in effect of or a victim of the economy or your competitors or drugs or your parents or whatever it is, you're dead in the water. You're DOA, because you are giving your power away to all these other things, whatever the economy, the president, the Republicans, the Democrats, whatever it is. You're giving your power away. And what I teach all my clients, and I've tried to teach myself, is you have the power to change the things around you. You control your own economy. You control your own reactions. When people say, oh, he made me so mad, or she made me, or Gen X or millennials or Gen Y doesn't want to work, or Gen Z is so lazy. Like, stop. Stop with all that crap. Listen, you're in charge of yourself. The best advice I give people, and the best advice I've ever been given, is you take radical accountability for where you are. You are exactly where you have decided to be. Gosh, people don't like that.
No, they don't, because it's
You are
so much easier to blame it on somebody else.
right.
Then I don't have to do anything but bitch about it.
Right. You are exactly where you've decided. You chose this job. You chose to start this company. You chose to hire these people. You chose to marry that person. You chose to have those kids. You are exactly where you've chosen to be. But there's power right there. At first, they're like I just.
But I have this excuse, and I have this excuse, and
It's like I punched them in the face. I didn't choose this. I didn't choose this economy. I didn't choose. You've chosen exactly. And the people who say, okay, I can see where you're coming from. The people who say, all right, See, there's an opening there, because if
Yes.
you chose your way here, you can choose your way out. And that's the key. If I realize through radical accountability that I chose my way here, all my choices have led me here, then I can have the power to choose my way forward. And that's the mindset that we can work with.
Yeah, and I've seen that like in my business, I'm trying to develop leaders too, but a lot of the times like you'll come across a situation that something has to be addressed. It didn't go the way it was supposed to. We got to fix it. And there's usually two responses. Okay, you're right. I can see how I can do this better. Or no, sorry, you're fucked up. This place is fucked up. I don't want to work here anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So how do you change? How do you coach somebody to be the other mindset?
So I have this little thing that I do. This isn't rocket science, but I say, I want you to pick up the mirror and put it to yourself. So I have them pick up this imaginary mirror, and I'll ask this question: what do you own of this? And I'm relentless. What do you own of this decision? What do you own of this place? What do you own of the status quo? These employees you're complaining about, you hired them all. You hired them. So let's talk about your hiring process. Let's talk about your interview process. Let's talk about your onboard. You own this. Oh, Jen, whatever. Like, you hired them. This is on you. So let's put the mirror. Let's control what we can control, right? Let's control what we can control. You chose your way here into this spot you were in. Let's now begin making different choices to move ourselves forward.
I agree. And so like I'm a big reader and learner, and John Maxwell has a theory that's really kind of hit home recently to me, is the theory of the lid.
Yeah, sure.
Right?
Law
The
of
company
lid,
will never grow bigger than you grow, more than you're curious, more than you develop.
Right.
And so it's important as business leaders to be continually develop.
Yeah, right. It's one of his 21 laws of leadership, the law of the lid. You are exactly what you have the capacity and capability to do. So you can keep griping if you want, and how's that working for you? I mean, is that actually solving your way forward? The answer is no. Okay, since that's not working, how about we try something else? Like, for one, let's begin taking complete ownership and accountability for where your company is. It all, it begins and ends with you.
So how do you use this to build great places to work?
So radical ownership or accountability, whatever word you want to put to it, that's where great companies begin, is when everyone is sitting in their seat in the boat, and they're rowing, and they own their seat. They own their seat, they own their deliverables, and teaching people that you first owe your own self-respect, excellence. Let's start there. For your own self-respect and competence, and being able to look in the mirror and be proud of what you produce, own your own self-respect and produce good quality work for yourself, so that you can lay your head on your pillow at night saying, I'm working on mastering my craft. And then look at the other people in the boat and say, I owe them good production as well. Their lives, their families are depending partly on me to do good work. So if we can go into a team with that mindset, and I do that very illustration in every company we go and work with, I have them sit in their seat in the boat, and I have them row. You owe me good rowing. I'm depending on you. That department is depending on you. That leader is depending on you. That team is depending on you to row well. And when they can understand that each one of us is interdependent and we owe each other good production and good craftsmanship, then we're on our way to building what we call a destination workplace, just a great team.
Really? So you say you work with companies. Is it like a one-day seminar? Is it coaching? What does that look like?
Our biggest program is our Leaders Edge Performance Engine that I've built over running my own companies 30 years. We look at the 6 systems of business, and then we go in and we do deep dives. We're very intentional, very thorough. We do deep dives into each of those systems, and it's half-day workshops over the course of a year, and we produce an amazing playbook for them. We create with them. We don't come in and just tell them what to do, because I don't know their businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what they do. So we facilitate all these wonderful conversations, and they take great ownership, and they create onboarding and strategy and value propositions and value chain and vision, mission, and values and efficiency systems and accountability systems and all the things that great companies need to do. And then they have this scalable, documented playbook to run by.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. Because as a business owner trying to do that on my own, I'm really not that good at it.
Most aren't, right? They're good at construction, they're good at plumbing, they're good at law like you, and no one has trained them to go in and build the infrastructure of a great organization. That's okay. You just surround yourself with other people. That's what smart people do. We surround ourselves with people smarter than us, and we come in and work with you and help build all that infrastructure that helps you scale and run your business better.
So tell me about some of your favorite client success stories.
Oh, goodness gracious, so many. Let's go with, I won't say the name, but it's a manufacturing construction company in Reno, Nevada. I'm a speaker at a particular conference, their industry conference. I'm a speaker, and I talk about, I think the topic was how to attract and retain top talent, something like that. And they come up to me afterwards and they say, H, this is the easiest sell in history. H, we want you to come work with us. So they go, okay, well, tell me about your team. And grow pretty good sized business and grow into, and they're stuck, they're stagnant, their departments are disconnected and yada, yada, yada. And no one's talking, everyone's siloed, the usual stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, no, that's our specialty. I'd love to. And they said, well, we need to warn you. We've had, I think, like 6 of you before you, and none of them have helped.
Really?
Yeah, none of them have helped. And I immediately said, so part of me, the competitive part of me was like, well, I'm going to be different, right? And another part of me was like, I told them up front, I said, well, I have no intention of being on your consultant graveyard. And so tell me about the dysfunction of the team. And they told me more about it. And I said, I don't think that's that big of a problem. So we go in day one, and the 14 executive leaders of all the departments, the directors of the departments are there. And I just brought it up and I said, hey, I've heard about your consultant graveyard, and just tell me more. Tell me more about that. And they said, well, a lot of them just talk, blah, 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 blah. They tell us what to do in hot air, and there's no follow through. There's no deliverables. I was like, okay, well, that's not us at all. And so we'll just zoom ahead a year. Favorite client of all time. They grew by 33%, which is multiple 7 figures.
Wow.
8 figures, actually. 8 figures. And they have cohesion. It's not perfect by any chance. We're going into year 2 now. But we do assessments on day 1. We do assessments, in the exit of the first year, and they blew it out of the water. There's cohesion. There's talking. There's profitability, retention is high. I mean, just an amazing success story, and I love it.
So what wasn't working?
Oh, they weren't talking. They were siloed. So in manufacturing, like, each project gets to different parts of the deal, and each part of the deal wasn't talking to the other part of the deal. So engineering wasn't talking to design, and design wasn't talking to procurement, and procurement wasn't talking to production, and production wasn't talking to sales. No one's talking to the customer. And so, long story short, we just worked really hard at creating this value chain that was smooth, excuse me, along the entire process. And so we set up these different meetings where at each baton handoff, they would have much better conversations, and they could see the entire project from start to finish, when before they only saw it when they hit their door. And when they left, it was like, good luck, you guys have it now.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a large company. This isn't some small rinky-dink deal. This is a large company. And so we just help smooth out that whole deal, which smoothing out all the communication along the entire, what we call value chain, along the entire value chain. And now it's just much smoother.
So you come in and evaluate the business and figure out how it's going to run better.
No, it's not quite like that. It's far more interactive than that.
Okay.
We help them figure out what's not working, and then they solve it.
Gotcha.
So we don't solve it. I don't know anything about manufacturing. I'm not on the floor, right? I'm not there watching the deal. So we just interrogate the crap out of stuff. We just ask all the hard questions they're not asking.
Yeah.
And then all these light bulbs come on because, we've done this so long. I've been doing this for 30 years with my own companies and many others, that I know what to ask. I know when it's not working. And so if I can help them see it, they're fixing it, not me.
Yeah.
They're fixing it. They see it. Their light bulbs go on. I just point out what is more the obvious to an outsider, and their light bulbs go on, and then they roll up their sleeves and they put it together, and they can say, we did this, not H did this. We did this. They own it. They create their own playbook. We just give them the framework for it.
Wow, that's pretty amazing.
And that's our secret sauce. That's what makes us so much more successful than all these other people that go in there. Nothing, no throwing shade on them, but we get the clients to create the solutions because we help clearly identify the blockages and the problems, and we work with them. Our sleeves are rolled up together. We dive in and get dirty with them so they can say, we did that. We own that. We understand it, so that when we leave, it's theirs. It wasn't ours. It's theirs.
Instead of talking at somebody.
Right.
And telling them this is what they need to do.
Yeah, no, we don't tell anybody what they need to do. They figure it out. We just help them figure it out.
You help them spot the issues and then how to solve them.
Yeah, the pain points are obvious. They'll tell us about the pain points all day long, and then we'll just interrogate the heck out of all those pain points and have them figure out, oh, yeah, let's try that. I just remember one conversation, our first, what we call issue processing conversation. I think it was like month 2 or 3. And we identified some of these things early on. We were working on their vision, mission, and values, but we weren't even working on their value chain at this point. And this topic came up, and I said, okay, let's just work on that. We did a deep dive into it as the initial assessment of all these siloed problems. And you could just see the light bulbs go on, and the birds started chirping, and the rainbow appeared. And I said, okay, tell me what just happened. Like, they figured it out. Like, I didn't know. And they're like, oh, and this, okay. Based on what you just designed and learned, how much money did you just make? And they said, okay, calculate across departments and blah, blah, blah. That conversation saved them $400,000.
Wow.
That single conversation, 30 minutes, saved them $400,000. It's amazing. I love this stuff.
That's crazy how, and it's true. It's like when you're in it and it's so hard to see everything.
100%.
You can't.
100%.
How important is creative conflict?
Okay, dude, this is my favorite, or dudette. This is my favorite conversation. So this is what I just shared with you. That's exactly what this is. So what we learned early on that most companies don't do well is they don't do conflict well.
Correct.
They do the bad kind of conflict. So when I preach this everywhere I go, we don't want conflict. We hate conflict. We don't want drama. We hate drama. And I say, okay, there's 2 kinds. In psychology, we talk about personality conflict. That's the kind we think of. We don't like. Just, Johnny rubs me the wrong way, and he parked in my spot and ate my tuna sandwich out of the refrigerator last week. And so we just butt heads. So that's called personality conflict. We're talking about what psychologists call idea conflict. We call creative conflict. It's the conflict over ideas and innovation. So in that particular meeting, there was differences of opinion, there was misunderstanding, there was hurt from the past that had to be resolved. In that very conversation that I alluded to, we had a great creative conflict dialogue where people could say, I disagree, or I don't understand, or could you explain that more? And most companies don't do that well because it's an art to disagree.
It takes vulnerability.
It takes vulnerability, right?
Feeling safe, like
have we built the trust? Do we have the coins in our pocket to trust that when you, Karalynn, disagree with me, I know you're not out to embarrass me or to hurt my feelings, or we're simply debating the idea. We can still be work buddies after this. And when we can create that environment that is psychologically safe, where people can say, no, boss, I don't think that's the best way to go. I'd like to propose this. Then you're onto something. But there is, and I call it creative conflict. And the graphic I use is of a blade on a wheel where it's getting sharpened. And there are sparks, and there is heat, and there is friction. And you want that. You have to know how to facilitate it, but you want that. And most companies don't know how to do it, or it's scary to them. So when we go in and we can facilitate these good, respectfully tense conversation, man, innovation, creativity, problems are solved, solutions are good. It's beautiful.
So how do you create that structure where that can happen?
Yeah. So we talk about two things, two S's. One I alluded to already. You have to have space on the calendar. And most people say, H, we're far too busy doing work. We're too busy doing work to have all these meetings you talk about. And I say, okay, here's what I just heard you say. We're too busy doing work to get better at doing work. That's what I just heard you say. What I heard you say is we like mediocrity, we like status quo. That's what I just heard you say. So you have to create space on the calendar, and then you have to do the hard work to create that psychological safety. And that's the deep stuff where trust is developed. And that doesn't happen overnight. That takes time. And it begins with the leader saying, guys, we want to get better at this. We want to get better at disagreeing. I, the leader, am going to have to learn how to release control or my own ideas. I talk about leaving rank at the door. Remember, I was in the military. Leave your rank at the door. When you come to these meetings, it's an idea meritocracy. It's not power struggle. It's not rank. It's not position. It's about the idea. And Karalynn, it just takes a lot of time and practice and some hurt feelings along the way to get this right. There's no other way to do it. There's no magic wand. You just have to dive in and learn to begin to take that step. And okay, this one's going to be risky. Boss, I have another idea. And without, you said the V word, without vulnerability, it never happens. Now, when we come in, we have a much greater chance of making this happen because we're outsiders. We don't know all the internal dynamics. So it's easier for us to create those environments for them and with them than them to do it on their own.
Yeah. I mean, even as a boss, it's hard to be vulnerable because I don't want to upset people. I want to make sure they leave,
Yeah, they're going to get ticked. They're going to walk out.
But I do think there's great ideas that come from people being honest and like, just tell me what it is.
Oh, I'm serious. It's the greatest thing in the world when we can have good, honest conversations and people are speaking the ground truth and not like the publicized truth that everyone wants to hear. Speaking the ground truth, we can really solve stuff now when we get down to there. It takes a while, but when we get down to those depths, man, that's where the brilliance comes out.
So you do that with the leadership team. Did like the leadership team do that with their direct reports, the same kind of
That's the hope, right? We teach them to, whatever we do here, this is our laboratory. You have to mirror back with your departments. We're going to practice this here. And we practice. We practice giving talks and running meetings and have correction conversations and creative conflict and issue problem, the whole deal. We practice it all. And now you go to your direct reports and you need to practice that and come back next month, tell me how it went. Yep. That's best case scenario.
So tell me about a smaller business that you helped.
Okay. Let's go with a law firm. You're a law firm, so we work with many law firms. Somehow we begin to specialize in law, medicine, and construction. I'm not sure how that happened. I guess when you get success in one industry, they begin to tell their friends.
Yeah.
So a law firm comes to us and they say, we don't want to do X business law anymore. We want to switch to personal injury. We have no idea what to do. H, can you help us? And I said, absolutely, sure. I've done this many times before. I've worked with quite a few law firms. And we begin to make the hard transition between business law to personal injury. And they've grown, quick math in my head, 700% in the last 4 years, just blowing it out of the water because they are hungry. They want to learn. They're teachable. They're very good at law. They're not skilled at building a business, and they don't mind saying so.
Yeah.
So going in, building the systems, the framework, again, the architecture, the infrastructure, the staffing, learning how to hire, learning how to interview, learning the importance of foundational statements, living on mission, living with purpose, how to market that, all your value, like all the stuff that we teach, watching them. So this, the construction company is quite large. They're now just a, 20-something person firm, pretty small. but they're growing like crazy. They had to buy a new building. It's fun. It's just fun
It
to
is fun.
watch these are good people. These are good people that treat people well. They really want their clients to succeed and to help them grow and build stuff. It's a joy for me to do that.
Well, and I know in law firms specifically, and
Yeah.
in construction companies too, um, it's really hard to come up with processes and things that work, and how the different departments work together. I
It's
just,
it's very hard. They're almost never going to do it themselves because that's not their skill set, and they think they don't have the time.
yeah,
They're busy working, which I get. You are. It's not like you're just dilly-dally and you don't have anything to do when you should be designing systems. So when they come in and they have like an architect come in who does this all the time and thinks like that, has that mindset, that systems mindset, it's much easier when someone can help design the infrastructure for you and you just fill in the blanks according to your own culture and system, etc. So it's much easier when you have someone who's orchestrating this stuff for you to do. It just,
no.
for some reason, just gets done better, faster when an outside kind of industry, expert, if you will, comes in and helps you do it.
Well, and two, like as a business owner, I'm very much the visionary. I'm not very much the how person,
Right.
right? It took
Yeah,
me
right.
2 years to work on our like legal team book playbook, and it's still not very good, but it's something.
Good. That's a good sign. It's better than most.
I know. It's like I can hear from like employees that join our
Yeah.
team now.
Yeah.
We put a lot of work into our hiring process and our onboarding process and our training process
Oh,
because
good for you.
it didn't work. It still needs work, but it didn't work at all. Like,
Yeah.
so I guess shortly after I launched the book, I had a lead in my legal team that left and took my 8 lawyers with her. And then trying to hire, and yeah, it was a mess for a couple of years. And it's getting better,
That's
but
hard. That's hard stuff. You're on the right track. You're doing the right stuff. You're way ahead of the game. By just knowing you need to do that and putting some work into that, you're well ahead of most of your colleagues. So good for you.
oh, thank you. I'm interested in your services personally and for my clients. What is like the approximate price tag? Because I know they're curious. I know they're curious and I'm curious. Or does
Honest,
it depend?
of course it depends. I mean, it's very custom to what you're doing, what your needs are, what your pain points. But since you asked, I'll give you, for you and your clients, it's going to range, and we have to factor in travel costs too. You're east from us, so
Mm,
anywhere from smaller clients 50K for the year to large clients 125, 150, depending on how many people they have in the coaching
hmm.
program. You should probably never throw out prices like that, but
No,
you
that's the
asked. Well,
ballpark. I'm just kind of curious. Like,
yeah,
if I went back to my team and said I'm very interested in doing this, they're going to ask me.
yeah, and there's a ballpark for you. We're very proud of the work we do. We're very good at the work we do. That sounds self-promoting, but
No.
I'm very proud of the impact we bring to organizations. I want to help release people to be the best version of themselves. The systems are just how do you release talent? How do you
Hmm.
help people have meaning and purpose and feel proud of what they do? The systems are just a vehicle. It's really the people and their skill set and their passion for what they do and being proud of what they do. That's what
Yeah,
we're really passionate about.
that's amazing. Well, if people wanted to find out more about you and your company, where would they go?
I would love an email. I'm a very personal guy. You can email me hr@yourleadersedge.com or go to our website, yourleadersedge.com. Drop me a line. I would love to chat. I love this stuff so much.
Sounds like it. Sounds like you're right exactly where you're supposed to be.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show.
It's my pleasure. You are a joy, my friend.
Oh, thank you.